Of course, we start off with a technical difficulty. Greetings, one and all. This is Kevin, the Apptrepreneur. Don't recognize me? Here, there. Now you recognize me. Now I am recognized for my online personality, such as it was. I also realized I made another little mistake, so let me do this real quick so that we can actually see the comments for this episode. But anyway, welcome to an episode of the Apptrepreneur Show. This is a rare one. This is a Monday night evening Apptrepreneur episode. And here's the reason why. I actually filmed a couple videos last night to upload today. And after I record the videos, I found out that my microphone, which I've been using for a few years now, had died on me. There was just, I don't know what happened, but there was no saving it at this point. Just absolutely no saving it at all. As a result, the videos, which were not exactly short, one of them was like 30 minutes long, one was 10 minutes long, did not come out sounding good at all. There was no way I could justify actually putting them up there. So we're back in the studio and we are using the microphone from the webcam. So the audio is not going to be as good as it usually is, but don't worry, I have already ordered another one. Thank you to all my Patreon supporters and people who send super chats. I save that money for times like this and it came in handy, so thank you so much. I should be getting my new microphone within 48 hours. And but for the time being, we will do what we're going to do. Now then, for those of you who have never actually been to the Apptrepreneur Show, this is what it is. It is a live show on YouTube where we talk about a variety of topics. Now, the main topic stays exclusive to the live stream because it is, in fact, the main topic, and we want people to watch this video. However, we will be talking about other topics, and those topics will be discussed in separate videos. And today, yes, this is live, Karen. This is absolutely live. It might take a minute for the comments to show up, but as you can see, it is live. So we will be talking about the other video topics, and if you want to stick around and chat, we tend to do a little talking in between topics. You can. We will be separating those videos off. However, this topic will be exclusive to this video. I'm also going to add one more little thing because there are two main topics that people want to hear me talk about. And I've never talked about politics much, but the top politics, which I don't normally talk on this channel, have kind of intruded upon social media and how big tech is responding to it. And as a result, we have got to talk about it. And yes, we will be talking about both Parler getting suspended and what it means for Donald Trump now that the big tech have basically all come together and deplatformed him off everything at once. However, just to be a little bit of a jerk, we're going to be separating them from the beginning and the end of the show, and there will be other topics in the middle. So if you want to find out what I have to say about Trump being suspended, you have to wait till the end of the show or until I break it off into its own video a couple days later. But anyway, welcome Code 1 Leoko, welcome Karen, welcome Jody, and welcome Kyle and Todd. So, anyway, we are going to, now that we've had that lengthy 5-minute introduction, we are going to discuss the first topic. Now, this was one of the videos that I had actually made yesterday that did not go up. It was about Amazon deciding that they were going to effectively ban Parler. Now, what does that mean? Because Amazon doesn't have a social media site, and Parler doesn't sell products on Amazon. And for that matter, the Amazon phone, the Fire phone, remember that thing? It actually lasted less than a year, I think, or maybe 2. We'll be generous. They don't have a store for the Apple phone anymore. So what exactly is Amazon going to do to Parler? Well, Amazon was actually the host of Parler. And they decided because of account violations or something, breaking terms of service, stuff like that. They decided basically that they were going to not host Parler on their platform anymore, which meant that basically, as of midnight last night, Parler went offline. In fact, let's do a little experiment. Let's go over here and let's go to Parler.com. You go to Parler, not up. Amazon basically deplatformed them. They said, we don't want to host your site anymore, and they took them off. Now, here's the thing. I made some snide comments yesterday about how, like, remember a few weeks ago when I made a video about, a quarter of the internet going down because Amazon Web Services had, like, an outage? You'd think that would have been, like, a wake-up call to not be giving Amazon the keys to, a quarter or half of the internet, but, of course, nobody watched that video and nobody cared. But Amazon taking Parler down definitely got people on, the fence. Now, one of the arguments that I made, and I guess the good thing about this video not going up is I can now really generalize it, is that while Amazon actually has every right to not host a website for reasons, whatever the reasons are, they have every right to not host that site if they don't want to. What I said is that they were going to get in trouble because, maybe not Amazon per se, but like Apple and Google, I got this a little mixed up, but I talked about how these companies could get in trouble if, Apple and Google, for example, are deplatforming Parler over not moderating hateful and violent comments when there are some unmoderated hateful and violent comments on Twitter and Facebook. And I don't know if Amazon actually, hosts those companies, but nevertheless, it wasn't a good look for the company. Well, here's the interesting thing. Amazon has now been sued by Parler. Now, this is not surprising. I expected Parler to do some suing. I am a little surprised they started with Amazon, though, because I think their case against Amazon is actually fairly weak when you get down to it. But let's look at this article, and of course, I'll comment and share my my personal thoughts. Social media company Parler, popular among right-wing users, sued Amazon after the Seattle tech giant's web services cloud hosting service dropped the platform just before midnight U.S. Pacific Time Sunday. In an action filed in U.S. District Court in Seattle, Parler, Henderson, Nevada, claimed that the move broke antitrust law and violated the two companies' contract. Parler wants a judge to order Amazon to restore its platform. So then, as the suit states, AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, decision to effectively terminate Parler's account is apparently motivated by political animus. It is also apparently designed to reduce competition in the microblogging service market to the benefit of Twitter. Now, here's the thing. If they can prove that Bezos or anyone at the top of Amazon or even Amazon itself is invested in Twitter, maybe you can make that claim, but as far as I know, Amazon does not have a stake in Twitter. I don't think Jeff Bezos has a stake in Twitter. I might be wrong. I don't have access to his personal portfolio, but that's not really an argument, in my opinion. Now, they could say it is motivated by political animus, but here's the thing. Is that necessarily something you can sue over? I mean, they have a business contract, and here's the thing. If Amazon can show that Parler violated their terms of service, which, with hateful content and stuff like that, saying that they hosted it, then, unfortunately, Amazon has the upper edge on that one. Now, continuing, Amazon said it suspended Parler because the platform was full of incendiary content suggesting violence. The Apple and Google app stores dropped Parler over the weekend. Amazon stock recently traded at $3,125.19, down 1.8%. It has jumped 65% over the past year because, of course, it's going to. Everyone got locked in their houses and they had to buy online. Where do you think they're going to shop at? Amazon's disruption of the retail industry is well documented, but it continues to find ways to evolve. That's what the Morningstar analyst. So anyway, this is a street, and they're kind of they kind of appeal to investors. That's why they're talking about this. So here's the thing. I totally expected Parler to do some suing. Like I said before, I thought that they were going to go after everyone they could. I'm surprised they started with Amazon because of the three, Amazon is probably the one they have the weakest link to. Amazon does not have any competition with Parler necessarily. You'd have to prove that Amazon has a stake in Twitter and Facebook succeeding, which I I don't know if you could actually do that. I mean, remember, when you sue someone, the burden of proof is on you to prove that you are suing for just reasons. But here's the other thing. I think Google and Apple have much higher things to sue for. Because here's the thing. Google and Apple took Parler off their stores. And you can actually probably sue for anti-competitive practices in that regard because they kept Facebook and Twitter, and I believe like Minds is also on there. They kept those platforms on there because, and they have violent and hateful content on their websites because here's the thing, you can't catch it all. You can't catch it all. So the fact that this site was singled out for not moderating its comments properly, but the other sites weren't, that you could probably sue and make a justifiable case. You could also make the case that Twitter has a conflict of interest because right after Parler was deleted or deplatformed from the Apple Store, some other chat app, I think it was called Strike or something like that, shot to number one, and Jack Dorsey promoted it. So, there's kind of something to suggest that there's some collusion in terms of anti-competitiveness there. I don't know if it's necessarily censorship. We'll talk about the censorship part when we talk about Donald Trump later in the show. But I think Parler's suit against Amazon has basically, not going to go very far. But here's the other thing. I don't think they will succeed because Parler is probably going to be okay in the long run. Because as stated in this article, Parler's CEO, John Matz, told Fox News on Sunday that the platform would get back online as quickly as possible. We have our software and everyone's data ready to go. Because here's something that should be mentioned. Amazon didn't actually delete the data. They just removed it from their servers and they said, hey, when you find a new place that will host your site, you can have it all back. So if you created a Parler account, don't worry, it's still there, technically. Rather, it's that Amazon's, Google's, and Apple's statements to the press about dropping our access has caused most of our other vendors to drop their support for us as well, and most people with enough servers to host us have shut their doors to us. However, a spokesperson for the website development platform Cloudrovia told Insider on Monday that the two companies are in talks around potential plans for Cloudrovia to host Parler. Cloudrovia is a little-known development platform that launched its domain in October and claims to promote free speech. The Cloudrovia spokesperson said the company would be happy to host the social media network, which was recently banned across multiple platforms. Now, let's search the web for Cloudrovia. This is their website, and this is who might be hosting Parler from now. And as you can see, you can have hosting, you can have domains, you have a website builder, and, I think they're going to charge Parler a little bit more than this every month. But there you have it. Now, here's the thing. I did want to bring up one more thing on this whole Parler thing before we move to the next topic at hand, because during my last live stream, a lot of people brought up an Linwood or Woodlin. This guy was like a brilliant lawyer. He defended Richard Jewell, and the little girl who got killed. I think it was the Ramseys or something like that. He defended these people when there were great injustices. So, for that he has my respect. But, a lot of people said that he knows the truth and he is being silenced. I looked up some of his stuff. I can't say I necessarily think I agree. Look, he had great accomplishments in the past, but he definitely doesn't seem like the most reliable guy in the world more. And the one thing I want to mention, the reason I'm bringing him up, is because Parler themselves removed a comment from Linwood. And so apparently even they think he's a little extreme for their tastes. So I just wanted to mention that just because he was brought up so much in the last live stream. So will Parler win their suit against Amazon? I think that's going to be difficult, especially if they get on another server really quickly and Amazon provides the data. It could be argued that, hey, there was hateful content on the site. Amazon has it in their contract that you can't have that stuff, and they assisted in the transition. And the transition, happened rather quickly, and you have surging popularity because basically of all the free press Amazon gave you. And so we don't think you were really hurt, and they might just toss the case. I don't think this is a First Amendment issue for Parler, which again we will talk about a little later. But here's the thing. If you want to stop buying from Amazon, like a lot of people said that they would, go ahead. I mean, I personally think any reason to boycott Amazon is technically a good one. In fact, my mother-in-law decided that she was going to cancel her Prime account, and she had bought her last thing from Amazon. I say good for her. I mean, I wish that it had been canceled because of the anti-competitive business practices, because of the monopolization of basically every business out there, and the horrid working conditions of the employees, and also the fact that many people who work for Amazon, they wind up with lifelong health issues that they never recover from just because they needed a part-time job. I would hope that those would all be reasons to drop Amazon, but apparently not. Apparently dropping Parler was the reason. But hey, you know what? As they say, I'll take it. It doesn't matter. I would be totally okay if 75 million people in America decided to not buy from Amazon. And then, I think that would be better for everyone involved. But anyway, I would like to know your thoughts. Do you agree? Do you think Parler's lawsuit has a chance at succeeding against Amazon? Actually, and here's the thing. I want to add one more thing. Don't say in the comments that that's a free speech issue. Again, we will discuss that when we discuss Trump. But anyway, I would like to know what you think. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. So I'm going to switch over here, and I see Ryan's here. Welcome, Ryan. And we're going to see some of, So Ryan, I'm going to say this right now. I appreciate you as a viewer. I love that you censor out the trolls. I see you're deleting a lot of messages from Karen. Karen is not spouting hateful content. She is not abusing anyone. So here's the thing. Unless she is personally attacking someone in this chat room, leave her messages up. Because you don't have to like Trump in my live stream. You don't have to like Trump either. I do not care. You hate him, you love him, that's fine. As long as you're not personally being abusive to someone, you can say your piece about Trump. And I don't completely disagree with her. When she wrote, Trump needs to be expelled from USA, I disagree with that. But when she says, where was it? When she said that you can't shout fire in a movie theater, that's what Trump did, shouted fire. I agree with that. I do agree that Trump shouted fire. So please don't. I see you were timed out, Karen. I'm sorry about that. So Ryan, and again, all right, I appreciate you, totally do, but Karen is allowed to have these points of view. But Karen, I'm not supporting Trump. In fact, when I talk about Trump, you're going to find out that I'm actually far from defending Trump. But anyway, Todd says, funny how we criticize China for suppressing speech from its citizens. We're taking a page out of their playbook. Well, again, not really, and we're going to talk about that, but we're going to talk about that at the end of the podcast of this live stream, because I have a couple other topics I want to discuss first. And you know what? Hey, since this was at one point a rideshare channel, let's dip our big toe back into the ride-sharing world and talk about class action lawsuits. Now, I don't know how you remember, but there was like a few years ago, maybe it was 5 years ago at this point. Has time really... Anyway, there was a big data breach. There were tons of sensitive information, phone numbers, social security numbers, things like that were stolen. And Uber covered it up. They covered it up only until their new CEO, Dara Khosrowshahi, came forward and admitted that this happened. Did we find out that it happened? And so there has been some class action lawsuits over it. However, an Alberta judge won't certify a class action claim over the Uber privacy breach. This is from Calgary Herald. And they write, an Alberta judge has denied a national class action lawsuit against Uber over a massive data breach involving more than 800,000 Canadians, saying that the claim offered no evidence of personal harm or financial loss from the company's actions. Really? This sounds like a very terrible judge. I'm just stating that up front, but let's continue. The proposed action was launched by Branch McMaster LLP in 2017 after the international ride-hailing giant admitted hackers had accessed the personal information of 57 million users and 600,000 U.S. drivers a year earlier. Uber has said 815,000 Canadian riders and drivers may have been affected by the breach. Lead plaintiff Dion Setoguchi sought personal and punitive damages from Uber and its affiliates on behalf of its Canadian customers, claiming the company failed to properly protect their personal data. And she's not wrong, by the way. The claims say hackers access personal information of Uber users and contractors, including email addresses, telephone numbers, encrypted passwords, and driver's licenses. Uber argued the stolen information was similar to what's readily available through most electronic commerce. Yes, but the difference being that most commercial commerce don't share that information and don't get hacked. Anyway, Uber says it has been over 3 years since that criminal incident. There is no evidence of any confirmed case of fraud, identity theft, or other economic loss to any Canadian as a result. Uber submitted at a hearing last year. Yeah, there's no evidence, but here's the thing. The fact that the information was compromised means it's very likely that something happened. The fact that there was a data breach and you covered it up, that violates your own terms of service, and heck, it breaks the law because you're supposed to inform people. So look, whether there's evidence of that leaked information actually harming the people is not even the question. The fact that it was compromised in the first place means that, well, damage was done and Uber needs to pay for that. Anyway, the Court of Queen's Bench Justice John Rook, in a ruling posted online last week, said the claimants failed to demonstrate personal or financial harm. Well, it got leaked, and they don't want that information out there, and there's always the potential for harm, considering that stuff is now on the black market. I don't think you should have to prove that. Just the fact that you know that this information was compromised means that they lose, but whatever. Or that any truly confidential information was obtained by the hackers. Well, Uber admitted that driver's licenses and socials were stolen, so... Anyway, in fact, much of stolen data was the kind found in old telephone directories, he stated. Old phone, like, that's not... Something tells me this is an older judge who doesn't understand how technology works. There is only speculation about a future possibility of loss or harm. Were this case to be certified at this stage, it would go to trial in the mere hope that evidence of loss or harm might at some point arise, Rook wrote in his decision against certifying the action. There is no evidence of any of this data having been released beyond the hackers in the 4 years since the hack. Yeah, but it has been released, and that stuff is very hard to prove. And the fact that Uber admitted, again, it violated the terms of service contract that all these people had with Uber, so maybe it can come back as they violated the terms of service. I don't know. So, as a reminder, Uber paid $148 million in fines as part of a settlement agreement for failing to notify clients and drivers their personal information had been stolen. The company hid evidence of the hack and paid a reported $100,000 ransom for the information to be destroyed. A former chief security officer for Uber Technologies was criminally charged last August with working to cover up the hack. Well, there you go. If a former chief security officer for Uber was criminally charged last August, then I guess the fact that Uber leaked this information, well, they didn't leak it, but it got hacked and leaked and stolen. The fact that happened means that that was criminal in nature. So I don't even have much to say about that one. I think this judge was an idiot. I think he was an idiot. The fact that he used like old personal phone books, which haven't been around for a long time, as far as I'm aware. I mean, does anyone use those things anymore? Do they still exist? This sounds like a judge who does not understand how technology works, and this ruling should have been thrown out. But anyway, I would like to know, what do you think about this? Do you think the judge made the right call? Do you think he didn't make the right call? Like, I think he didn't make the right call. I'd love to know. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. And as always, flame responsibly. And let's go back to, So Ryan says, thank you for letting me know. I won't do it again if she returns to tonight's stream. So, okay, thanks. So, and hey, Steve, how you doing? Welcome to everyone. So, I mean, and don't get me wrong, Ryan, you're usually a very good mod. I have no complaints about you, but, someone not liking Trump, that's not a bannable offense. So, anyway, let us move on to the third main topic. And the third main topic, does anyone remember Quibi? Like, that's one of the jokes about Quibi, is that it lasted from 2020 to 2020. It lasted only 6 months. I actually subscribed to this service twice. The first time for the 3 months, and then I didn't resubscribe. And then, interestingly, I thought the platform started getting more stuff that I wanted to see. It got Reno 911. It got all of this stuff. I am still getting used to my Apple Watch giving me notifications. That's still weird. But anyway, and I actually had resubscribed to them when they put their content on like Apple TV and Roku, because it's like, oh, good, okay. Like, now that it's on the TV, which is what I really want to watch it on, I will resubscribe to Quibi, and Quibi died. They decided they'd rather go out of business and return as much of their investors' money as possible rather than continuing to fight the bad fight. Well, anyway, Quibi's content is going to live on because Roku actually has acquired it. You might not know this. Roku has original content. Like, I know they're pretty much known as like the box that you can stream Netflix and Hulu on, and Disney Plus, and basically everything but HBO Max, although I hear they recently fixed that. I don't know. I still want to see Wonder Woman in the theaters if it's possible. But Roku has their own original content, and they decided to buy Quibi's content, and they're going to stream it for free for Roku users. Here's what the article says. One man's trash is another man's treasure. The bulk of Quibi shows will be available to stream for free on Roku in the near future. The Netflix-powered streaming service acquired the rights to a majority of the short-lived media apps portfolio of original programming, Variety reported. More than 75 scripted series, alternative and reality programming, and documentaries featuring Lawrence Fishburne, Idris Elba, Kevin Hart, Liam Hemsworth, Anna Kendrick, that dummy show. Boy, that's an awful thing. Chance the Rapper, Nicole Richie, Christy Teigen, and Lena Waithe will be made available for free to stream in 2021 on the Roku channel. Marketed as a mobile streaming platform focusing on short-form content, Quibi, an abbreviation of Quick Bites, shuttered 6 months after its launch last October after failing to attract a substantial amount of consumers. Financial terms of the deal were not made public, but a source familiar with the agreement told the Hollywood trade outlet that Roku is paying significantly less than $100 million for the Quibi library, which Roku's VP of programming, Rob Holmes, told another outlet represented a great value. So, yeah, basically, Quibi was asking for $100 million for this, and they must have got it for significantly less, which, hey, look, I agree with. I think $100 million, I don't think that content has any real value to you, except maybe it gives you the option to do another season of Reno 911, which, might be worth something to someone. But by getting it far less than $100 million, hey, it's just one more thing that you can say you can get on Roku that you can't get on Apple TV or Amazon Fire Stick. Now, Holmes said, fundamentally, we think that Quibi has created great high-quality content. It's a great value proposition for our users. We're pivoting from Quibi's SVOD model to an ad-supported model, which I think Quibi should have done. I think one of Quibi's fatal mistakes was having two paid options. They had like a paid option with ads and a paid option without ads. I think when you're getting started for the first year, you need to have a free version with ads and a paid version for no ads. But, I guess that's water under the bridge now. And this type of new original content is not usually available for free. No, you hire Lawrence Fishburne to be in a show that wins a few Emmys, and that hashtag Free Raymond Shaw, whatever it was called, that was a really good show. Some content that never had the opportunity to be released on Quibi, including Peter Farrelly's suicide-themed comedy and the Russo brothers' Marvel vs. DC Comics docuseries docuseries will premiere on the free ad-supported streaming service. Why was Quibi holding back a Russo brothers Marvel vs. DC docuseries? That would have sold subscriptions. Spielberg's After Dark, Steven Spielberg's horror series originally designed to be viewed only after sunset on Quibi, will get to see the light of day. And by the way, that was an interesting idea, that Spielberg's After Dark series, you could only watch it after the sun went down. See, there were things about Quibi that were interesting. The Roku channel reportedly reaches 61.8 million people in the U.S. There you go. So, yeah, Quibi moves on. You see this price here? This is where they went wrong. $4.99 per month and $7.99 per month. But, you know, another reason I don't think it really caught on is I think Disney Plus was actually a huge competitor even on the on-the-go thing. Because here's the thing. Quibi said that they wanted to do quick bites, 3 to 10 minutes long. Well, one of the things that I've been enjoying the most on Disney Plus is like their Short Sparks thing and these experimental Disney shorts or some of the classic. All these shorts are less than 10 minutes long. And so, hey, why subscribe to Quibi when you can get like your quick fix on Disney Plus, and these shorts are typically of very high quality, and some of them are actually like very emotionally moving, especially that one that Pixar did, like especially considering that we're planning to move out of this house and move back to Sacramento. I'm kind of getting a little teary-eyed just thinking about it, how long I've lived here and what life is going to be like in 2 or 3 years. So, there were some great shorts on Disney Plus, and then I think Warner Brothers, they were starting to put short films on their app with HBO Max and like the Looney Tunes shorts. So I think Quibi they just mismanaged it. They premiered during the pandemic where people didn't want to watch on their phones. They want to watch on TV. They charged, for an ad-supported service, and that should have been free for at least the first year to get eyeballs. There were a lot of things that they did wrong, but it looks like they were able to sell their content for something. It was probably pennies on the dollar compared to what they spent on it. I don't know if it's going to be like 10-minute chunks or if like maybe Roku is going to take like, for example, the Liam Hemsworth movie. It's basically a movie where they broke up a movie into like 13 episodes. I don't know if they're going to just make it all one feature film. Who knows? But anyway, I would like to know what you think about this. Do you think this was a bargain for Roku? Are you interested in watching Quibi content when it hits Roku? I'd like to know. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. All right, let's check back in with the viewers for the moment and see what's going on. So, Low Roller Scratcher says, can you understand the new Robinhood crypto rules? If you receive emails this week, and how does it work? I have not read those emails, so I cannot comment on that so far. Now, Ryan says, I'm not a Trump supporter myself, but I was a bit skeptical about some of her comments. Well, no, she was saying things that most people who don't like Trump typically say. He also says, I never used Quibi, but I was aware of it mostly because of Jeffrey Katzenberg contributed to it, and I saw a few videos on it, including yours. Yeah, Jeffrey Katzenberg, and that's got to be that's got to be a harsh thing for him because he that's going to be like one of his first real failures when you get down to it. It's going to be a failure, and this guy has known a lot of success. I mean, he basically revived Disney feature animation, and then when they screwed him, he made DreamWorks Animation, and DreamWorks Animation could arguably carry DreamWorks. But, you have to fail your once in a while. So, anyway. Speaking of Disney Plus, did you ever see Howard or the new Phineas and Ferb movie that both came out in the service in August? Yes, I liked the Phineas and Ferb movie quite a bit. Howard I did not like as much, and mainly because a lot of the footage was recycled from Waking Sleeping Beauty, which I think is a far better documentary. I mean, it's nice that they made it. Howard Ashman was obviously a genius composer, but I have to be honest, I didn't care too much about that one. Okay, so we're still going to talk about Trump, his bans, and the First Amendment as it regards to Parler, but there is at least one more topic I want to talk about beforehand. So one of the roller coasters that has been 2020 is the movie theater industry. I love the movie theater industry. I have a channel basically dedicated to the movie theater lifestyle, and obviously that I have been missing it. And me and my wife, in a few weeks after Valentine's Day, will be going to Vegas to see a few movies in theaters. So, because they're so open over there. And I'm a shareholder of all the cinema chains, AMC, Cinemark, IMAX. I don't think Regal, which is Cineworld, is traded on our stock market. But if they were, I'd own investments in them. So I believe in the movie theater experience. I believe it ultimately will survive. But the biggest roller coaster has been AMC, who had to shutter all their theaters when they had just started to turn a profit after assuming an awful lot of debt. And things have been very volatile for them, as well as a lot of things going to streaming. And they did some desperate things that I think is going to hurt them more in the long run, like shortening the theatrical window to 17 days with Universal. I don't think that was a good deal for them to make. However, here's the thing. One of the things that they said was that they needed about $750 million to basically keep operating without filing for bankruptcy over the next 6 months. And it appears they have actually they're come pretty close to that goal, and the main reason is an app. So obviously this is a great topic for the Apptrepreneur. So the New York Post writes, AMC Entertainment, America's biggest movie chain, is getting ever closer to its goal of raising enough money by the end of January to stave off bankruptcy until at least the summer, the Post has learned. CEO Adam Aron, who I don't think is very good at what he does, I want to add, has told Wall Street he aims to raise $750 million by the end of the month, in a move that some observers have poo-pooed as a desperate attempt to delay the inevitable. We are not there yet, he said, CNBC Tuesday. We are off to a very good start. We have a long way to go. But sources say Aaron may have underplayed his hand because he's on the verge of a $600 million fundraising effort that has taken AMC's creditors by surprise. With $600 million, AMC would have enough to keep AMC's empty movie theaters solvent for about 5 more months, 2 sources close to the situation said. This is really good news. We don't read too many good news about AMC these days. The company has been losing around $125 million a month as the pandemic stifles ticket sales, the sources said. Depending on the vaccination rollout and assuming moviegoers return by June, that may even give the company enough breathing room to ride out the COVID storm. AMC raised $104 million late last year through the sale of 38 million shares of stock and says it may sell an additional 50 million shares. By the way, as an investor of AMC, that doesn't make me happy because that dilutes the stock that I have. On the other hand, it's so cheap that once they do this, I'll probably just buy more and then make up the losses that way. Assuming they survive, of course. This is not financial advice. Don't invest in something without talking to a financial advisor. Anyway, the fundraising was a success despite AMC's stock down at $2 a share because there's a big market for among small investors, one source said. And here's the key. They are selling it to people on Robinhood. Yes, Robinhood is actually the app that a lot of bankrupt or near bankrupt companies go to sell stock. And a lot of investors, here's the thing. Is it smarter to buy a share of Google or Tesla right now than AMC? Sure. But, but Tesla costs like $800 a share right now. And AMC is $2. You can get a lot of shares for $800 on AMC. And if the stock goes up just a couple bucks, man, you are rolling in the dough. And that's what a lot of Robinhood users do. So, for the record, I bought my stock on Robinhood. Granted, it's because I'm also doing that Robinhood experiment for all of you folks. That experiment is coming to an end. There'll be an update video soon. But continuing on this article, the company has also announced that Murdoch Capital Management will lend it an additional $100 million. Lastly, the company is close to borrowing hundreds of millions of dollars tied to AMC's European subsidiary Odeon Cinemas, the Wall Street Journal reported. AMC is set to raise £400 million or $545 million off the European assets in a move that not even AMC senior lenders can stop since they do not have a claim against those assets, the source says. After paying off a £100 million debt, AMC will be left with $408 million for a total of $612 million. The source says they will refinance that European debt and send some of that money to the U.S. So Aaron is close enough to nabbing the funds that he has refused to engage in talks with lenders about bankruptcy financing, the sources added. So, potential good news for AMC. They might, and here's the thing, I didn't for a second believe that AMC, I mean, maybe this is blind faith and, something can still go wrong, but I always believed that AMC was going to pull out of it. People do want to return to the movies. AMC is the largest chain. They have the best subscription service plan. And here's the thing. Something tells me someone would want them. Maybe none of the movie studios. The movie studios might have their own streaming service. But what about Coca-Cola or Pepsi-Cola? Why would they buy AMC theaters or potentially invest in it? Because, believe it or not, AMC is the second largest seller of popcorn and soda in the world. That's a lot of soft drinks that are not going to be sold if AMC goes under. Coke's definitely got the money to, if not outright buy AMC, at the very least merge or buy a significant stake in them. Especially with stock as low as it is. Now, they might wait a little bit longer because more shares are going to be issued, and I'm not particularly happy about that. Let's just make it absolutely clear. But yeah, AMC might actually get away with this and have a happy ending. The sequel might even be better. Who knows? So I'm happy to read that, but of course, I do want to mention that if you are an investor, don't take my word for it. Talk with a financial expert, and AMC is definitely a risky stock in my opinion. I'm just buying a lot of it because I personally have faith in it, but I also had faith in MoviePass, and that didn't quite work out the way it was supposed to in my mind. But anyway, I would like to know what you guys think of all this. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one. All right, let's go back to the comments real quick. Are you doing a Robinhood stock update video soon? Yes. They should do a $3 movie in movie theaters again. Well, they probably will because it's still going to take a while for the new movies to come out. Sleeping Elephant, hey, welcome back. Did you hear about Signal stock? Let me see what Signal stock is. I've not heard of this company. Wow. So anyway, Signal stock is this. Operates an engineering product. So, sheesh. Just a few days ago, it was like $7, and now, how on earth did that happen? See, that's something that I'm going to actually have to look at that because I'm now curious about this company and what the heck happened there to make it go the way it did. So, okay, low roll scratcher. AMC need careful, get delist in stock market. No, it won't. At least it's not even close. The only way you're going to get delisted from the stock market is if their stock trades for less than $1 for 90 days. It hasn't gotten there yet. I mean, it's closer than most companies, I'll admit, but it's not there yet. All right, folks. Now then, we are going to finally talk about the second main topic. I know most of you are here and have been waiting patiently for me to discuss. We are talking about Trump being banned from all the social media platforms. And we're going to talk about two things in this final topic. One, what does this put any pressure on the social media companies? And is this a violation of the First Amendment? Believe it or not, that second question has been asked an awful lot, and people assume often the wrong thing. So let's talk about Twitter, because their stocks actually stumbled after Trump's ban was put into place. And I think the stocks fell for two reasons. The first reason is because, frankly, Trump is Twitter at this point. If you're on Twitter, there's a huge chance that the reason you're on Twitter is to follow Trump and to comment on Trump's tweets and to make fun of the man. I believe Twitter and Trump are interchangeable at this point, and this is a monster that Twitter created. They don't want to have this monster on their backs anymore, but they're stuck with him. And with Trump off Twitter, what's the incentive for a lot of everyday average Americans to go to Twitter? And yes, a lot of those people were also getting off Twitter to go to Minds and Parler. I should acknowledge that. But there's a second reason, and I think this is the one that investors are much more concerned about. It's because it puts social media and their power in the spotlight, and that's going to cause them some problems. So according to Reuters, Twitter's stock tumbled over 6% on Monday after its move to permanently suspend U.S. President Donald Trump's widely followed account spurred concern among investors over the future regulation of social networks. The San Francisco-based social media company said on Friday its suspension of Trump's account, which had 88 million followers, and that's not chump change, by the way, was due to the risk of further violence following the storming of the U.S. Capitol last week. The move drew criticism from some Republicans for quelling the president's right to free speech, and they're, by the way, wrong on that one, while European Union Commissioner Thierry Breton said the past week's events likely had heralded a new era of heavier official control. German Chancellor Angela Merkel, whose relations with Trump have been frosty, criticized Trump's Twitter ban and warned through a spokesperson that legislators, not private companies, should decide on potential curbs of free expression. Except there's a problem with that, and we're going to get to that in a minute. The attention drawn to Twitter increased investors' worries that it could be more exposed to regulation than its bigger rivals Facebook Inc. or Google and YouTube owner Alphabet. Other social media platforms, including Facebook, have issued similar bans on Trump, but Monday's fall of as much as 12% in Twitter stock was much deeper than for any of its peers, and that's because, again, Trump is Twitter, Twitter is Trump. They're pretty much interchangeable at this point, and Twitter's going to have to think about what they're going to do about that going forward. Facebook was last down almost 4%, and Alphabet lost 2%. Speaking during the Reuters Next conference, Facebook's operations chief Sheryl Sandberg said the world's largest social network had no plans to lift its blocks on Trump's accounts. Now we get to the thing, big tech power. Friday's move, accompanied by suspensions for some of Trump's supporters, was the first time Twitter had banned a head of state, and Republican lawmakers denounced its decision as an attempt to stifle conservative voices. There's some legitimacy to that. If you're to be banned on Twitter, it's much more likely because you're going to be a conservative. Sean King, for example, has actively called for riots, and Twitter puts him in a timeout, basically, but they don't do anything about his account. Apple Inc., Alphabet, and Amazon.com also suspended Parler, a social network favored by many Trump supporters, from their app stores and web hosting services, effectively making the service inaccessible. Michael Hewson, chief analyst at CMC Markets UK, said these moves, whether you consider them justified or not, could well see them lose further users if they become seen as arbiters of what is considered politically correct or acceptable. It can. It's also, by the way, considering these are now communication tools, this might be a problem. U.S. President-elect Joe Biden has been quoted as criticizing the overwhelming arrogance of the tech sector's leaders, and analysts expect more legal moves to curb their power over the next 4 years. Because here's the thing. If there's one thing that liberals and Trump agreed on, it's that big tech had too much power. They agreed for different reasons, of course, but they agreed that they had too much power and that something should be done about that. EU Commissioner Breton said the change in regulation may prove comparable to the global crackdown on terrorism after the attacks of September 11th. He said, the fact that a CEO can pull the plug on POTUS's loudspeaker without any checks and balances is perplexing, he wrote in a column for Politico. It's not only confirmation of the power of these platforms, but it also displays deep weaknesses in the way our society is organized in the digital space, because the digital space is basically the wild, wild west. And now, here's the thing. Why would all of this be a concern if you're investing in social media? Like, what does it have to do with the First Amendment and everything? Like, do all these companies, let's put it this way, are these companies violating the First Amendment by banning Trump? And the answer is no. Of course they're not. Twitter, Facebook, Google, YouTube, Amazon, these are all private companies, and they can do whatever the heck they want. To an extent, and I'm going to try to explain this as best I can, with the notion that I am not a lawyer. This is just how I understand it. So let's look at this article from CNET. Conservatives are crying First Amendment foul as social media companies like Twitter and Facebook ban social media accounts from President Donald Trump and others they say have fomented violence in the wake of the attack on the U.S. Capitol last week, while Apple, Google, and Amazon have shut down conservative social media service Parler. Twitter on Friday permanently shut down Trump's personal account as well as other accounts he has used. Twitter said it was banning the president for, excuse me, folks, his inflammatory tweets after the pro-Trump mob stormed the Capitol as Congress met in a joint session. I got to get something to drink, folks. To finalize the election votes for Joe Biden as president. Twitter also suspended the accounts of other prominent Trump supporters, such as retired General Michael Flynn, Trump lawyer Sidney Powell, and several other supporters of the bogus QAnon conspiracy theory embraced by many of Trump's most avid fans. I don't even know what the QAnon conspiracy is, to be honest. But, again, the fact that they seem to be going after his supporters, that's a little concerning. The move came after Facebook and Instagram suspended Trump indefinitely from their platforms. Twitch and Snapchat also disabled Trump's account. Meanwhile, tech companies Apple and Google have banned the alternative social media platform Parler, yada yada. The actions mark a dramatic turnaround for companies that have largely been hands-off when it came to speech on their platforms over the last several years, and there's a reason for that. The reason for that is because they get protections under Article 230 that basically they are not a publisher, they are a free speech platform. They don't censor unless it's illegal, and they don't ban unless there's repeated offenders. So basically, that's their argument. We are not a publisher, we are just a moderator. And so they cannot be held personally reliable for things that people say on their sites. Now, what they've done in this action is they have essentially taken more assertive control. Because they not only banned Trump, they banned supporters. And maybe they could make a case that they were also egging people on, but most people are in agreement that Trump was the main spurner, if you will, the main provocateur. He was the one who did the rally. He's the one who said, take back your country. He's the one who I hear did not call the National Guard to quell this. Mike Pence had to do that. So, by all accounts, Twitter had every right to ban Trump, but they also banned other things. And as for these other sites, I'll talk about them in a minute. So, but the violence in Washington, D.C. last week served as a turning point with companies moving to silence both individual voices and places where talk of violence could occur. Conservatives say these actions are nothing more than censorship and a violation of their First Amendment rights to speech. Donald Trump Jr. tweeted Friday's free speech is under attack, censorship is happening like never before, don't let them silence us. But is this really the violation of the First Amendment? Well, first question, is it legal for social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook to ban Trump and others from their platform? Yes. Free speech protections under the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution applies only to the government censoring speech. It doesn't mean that private companies can't decide what types of speech it will allow on its platforms. Companies can and do have their own standards and policies that users must follow, and they can remove users who violate those standards. As Clay Calver, a law professor at the University of Florida, said, it's a common mistake people make in understanding First Amendment protections. There is no constitutional right to tweet or post on Facebook. Never mind, I know some of you are younger, but I lived through many years where Twitter and Facebook didn't even exist. So, Calvert said that private companies, like a publisher of a newspaper, are able to determine what can be posted on their platforms and what can't. They offer terms of service which consumers agree to abide by. So, that's that. We're going to skip what was Twitter's reason for banning Trump because we know what that was. And what about Simon Schumacher canceling the publication of Senator Josh Hawley's forthcoming book? Is that a First Amendment violation? No, again, because they're a private company, although I have to say Simon & Schuster, they are, by the way, by far the weakest publishers in the publishing industry in terms of standing up for authors' rights. If a Twitter mob goes after them, they cancel a book even if they proofed it and agreed to it. I don't like Simon & Schuster for that reason. But, if they publish a book that I want to read, of course I'm going to buy it. Now, what about Apple and Google removing the social media platform Parler from the App Store and Amazon announcing it will no longer host Parler's services? Does this limit free speech under the First Amendment? And no, because just like social media platforms and book publishers, the First Amendment doesn't compel Amazon, Apple, or Google to offer all apps or to provide web services to any company. However, here's what's going to become a problem for these companies in the future, and this is why companies are getting more concerned. Because here's the thing, the way that Trump was deplatformed, if you will, it kind of spoke to collusion. It might not have actually been collusion, but it seemed like it was. Okay, so they want to suspend Trump on Twitter. Makes sense. That's his primary method of communication. That's where the offensive posts were. So, yeah, I understand that. Facebook, well, he did share some of those same posts on Facebook, so that makes sense. YouTube, maybe if the video where he was trying to quell the protesters was uploaded, but I don't think it was uploaded there, so that's more of a questionable one. Snapchat, I don't think he was even using Snapchat at the time. Instagram, does he use Instagram? Does anyone follow Donald Trump on Instagram? Like the thing that concerns me and other people is that these companies removed him before he might have actually even broken some terms of service, which could give the very strong impression that these companies colluded with one another to censor him and take him down. Of course, I hear he still has access to his MySpace page, so apparently not all the social media platforms do that. But again, the other way that this might bone the social media companies is that they have certain protections under the Constitution because they typically don't do this unless there is legit reason to do it, like if something illegal is going on or something like that. And, well, the fact that they might have suspended someone the fact that they are now taking a more active hand in removing people who might not even have done anything wrong but just support the president, that could be a gray area for them, and they might lose some of those protections because people are using this instance as a reason how, Facebook and Twitter let these comments go on. It stirred up a mob, and then they only took it down after the fact, so maybe they should be held responsible. They might lose some of those protections because of this. Also, I'm sorry, I know that's gross, but that was just really itching right there. Where was I going with this? The fact that they all did it at the same time, that could suggest collusion. And then there's a Parler situation. Like, again, early in the show, or another video if you happen to watch the after announced video of the recording of this, Parler is suing Amazon, and I don't think they're going to win that case. But if Parler sued Apple and Google for taking down their site for not being properly moderated while keeping Twitter and Facebook up while their sites aren't properly moderated, well, that's going to cause a lot more problems for all these tech companies, and they stand to lose a lot of money. And then, of course, there's just the thing that I know a lot of people who like Trump who are just leaving the platforms. Now, of course, that's their right to do that, but, Anyway, here's the thing. I totally agree with Trump being banned from Twitter at the very least. The other sites, I don't know if there was much of a case. I do think Trump holds a lot of responsibility for what happened on Capitol Hill. Not all of it. There are still things that are being investigated that we just don't know about. But the thing is, people were upset. They were angry. And you know what? A simple concession speech would have really gone a long way to quelling a lot of this. And I'm sorry, I don't think the election was fraudulent. It's like there's just been no credible evidence that says it was. So anyway, that's my thoughts on Trump being banned on social media and how it could really bone these companies in the long run. But I do want to know, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that your freedom of speech is being taken away, knowing that the First Amendment does not apply to companies, but just the government? But hey, there is one more maybe we should add this one more thing. I should mention that, it is true that Facebook and Twitter and all these social media, they are big, and I mean huge, massive, forms of communication. For some people, it's the way we talk to other people. And same thing with Gmail accounts. I mean, the thing is, no one can say you can't mail a letter to someone. They can't, because the mail is a public service. And no one says you can't call anyone. Now, you can get in trouble if you try to mail something that's not healthy or potentially destructive, and you can get blocked on someone with their phone number. But since these are huge communication tools, if Facebook decides to ban you, they could essentially cut off your communication with your friends and family throughout the world. And that gives them way too much power. So even if they're not government controlled, guess what? They have control over your lives and they can do what they want. So the First Amendment doesn't protect you from that, but it could lead to a conflict of interest. I think social media honestly should be kind of like how telephones eventually became a public utility. It should just be a public utility. These companies should not have the right to just be able to cut you off from communication of the world. But I think we're a long way from figuring that out. I would like to know what you think about all this, though. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one. All right, I'm going to look at some of the final comments here, and then we are going to end this. We have been talking for an hour, and I will be so happy when I launch the new format of this show and we have co-hosts and things like that. So anyway, let's look at some of these. It's like Sleeping Elephant said, Elon tweeted, investors confused it with the Signal app. Yeah, I heard about that. Jody says, Amazon needs to back off because they were already in trouble back in 2020 as it was over the C virus. Amazon, keep their you-know-what. They're going to find themselves not a company anymore. I think it's going to be a long time to take down Amazon, but interestingly, I saw more people say they were canceling their Amazon accounts as a result of Parler than any human rights violations that they have, done, which I don't know what that says, but anyway. Let's see here. Jody also says, whether you like the president or not, they shouldn't be delisting social media sites and banning people for free speech. Well, they didn't ban them for free speech. They banned him because he wrote things. And here's the thing. He broke their terms of service multiple times. I think the reason he wasn't banned for the long time is because he was the president of the United States, and the question of, well, should you be silencing public officials was a real one, and now they've actually taken that step. We're going to have to see what happens after that, because that sets an interesting precedent. Like, does Twitter really have the right to silence the president of the United States without any checks and balances, I don't know. Apparently they just did, so now we got to talk about it. Anyway, Sleeping Elephant says, Twitter has tons of influence and users, but makes no money. Yeah, it's really an odd situation. Muhammad Kali said, greetings, Kevin. Yesterday on reliable sources on CNN, a guest stated that a study by Facebook US that people who join hate groups join because Facebook suggests these groups. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, that's going to come out. Like, if Parler sues Apple and Google by saying, like, well, look, why are you telling us we need to moderate when people who go on Facebook are suggested these groups in the first place? Because algorithms don't think like that. So algorithms will do... You get terrible people online, algorithms will still cater to these terrible people. I'm not talking about Trump supporters. I'm talking about terrible people. I know Trump supporters who absolutely condemned the Capitol Hill riots. Make that very clear. Okay, so Todd says you lost me at CNN. Oh, well, that was kind of passive-aggressive. Jody says, a lot of people use these social media sites as a way to communicate to people such as family members that might live in other states. Some of these people may no longer have their phone numbers, even though it's 2021. I agree. I did touch upon that a little bit. Let's see here. Low Roller Scratcher says, I can see a lot of people go to dark web if censorship continues. Well, they just might. Sleeping Elephant says, great for people to quit social media. Reading, going outside, talking to people is better. I totally agree, and I almost never use Facebook anymore. Sleeping Elephant says, Social Dilemma is a good movie for what tech has done. Actually, yes, it is. And in fact, it might make my top 10 best films of the year list. Most importantly, what happens to frequent users of social media, humans' fault at the end of the day. I agree. Because, Facebook themselves don't want to do this. They don't like this kind of publicity. Neither does Twitter, but the people on there, they do these things. Muhammad said, great idea at Sleeping Elephant. Sleeping Elephant says, Parler is not from Silicon Valley, outcasted tribe. That is true. He also says, freedom of speech will find a way. So many crazies out there. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, you know, you have Free Speech Tube, which hosts people who were suspended on YouTube. And, you know, some people were suspended on YouTube unjustifiably, but when you go to Free Speech Tube, that is the definition of a bad crowd. And it's hard to find people on Free Speech Tube that, are sane. We'll put it that way. Jody says, it's not right in Facebook how some group says no shaming or banning of comments, but comments get banned in the groups. Anyway, well, here's the thing. Like, I don't like banning of comments for people that disagree with me. You're allowed to disagree with me. But you know what? I also don't believe that it should be the wild, wild west where people... Because you know the people who say, like, as long as you don't censor comments, I'll be here. Those are the very people who are going to be abusive and berate you, and it's like, you know what? You need to grow up. You do not have the right to say whatever you want. You can have a civil conversation if you want, but if you're not going to have a civil conversation, then guess what? Your comment's gone, and if you continue to do it, you're gone. So, you know, banning comments and people is just a way of life. There's too many stupid people on the internet. Heck, there's teenagers on the internet. Ryan says, have a great night. I'm looking forward to seeing the new layout for your live stream. Well, it won't be that much of a new layout, but it's going to be different. That's for certain. Muhammad said, Robert Reich suggested to break up big tech. How? By reducing use of these platforms. Try not to be desperately dependent on big tech. Well, I also think that they're going to have to split them up. Like, you know, Zuckerberg can't be buying all these little companies, and neither can Amazon. I think they're all just going to have to separate these companies and break them up. And I suspect that will happen, if not by the end of Joe Biden's term, then by whoever is president in the next after him, because I think Biden's only going to serve one term, then it'll be done by then. Let's see here. Have a great night, people. So don't worry, I'm almost done anyway. Hey, George, how you doing? If Uber and Lyft taught me anything, these people will come back to Facebook, Google, and Amazon because they don't have a choice. Uber and Lyft are terrible, but people keep driving for them. I agree, and that's a good one to end with. I mean, at the end of the day, if you really want to see how much control these companies have of your life, stop using them and see if you can actually do it. For a lot of people, they just can't. They rely too much on all these companies. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. Of course, I will be splitting up all these topics, except for the main one, into separate videos over the next few days on the multiple different channels. For those of you who are watching, thank you for watching. The Apptrepreneur Show has returned. It's going to be like a Sunday thing from now on, but I didn't go live Sunday yesterday. But anyway, and hey, we're getting plans to be on Spotify and everything. So yeah, we're going to have like a slightly different format. Hopefully you will enjoy it. And I need a co-host because talking for like over an hour straight, I mean... But anyway, thank you all for joining, though. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.